The night hummed with the kind of silence that feels staged, as if the world had been switched off just for us. Eli said he knew a shortcut to the coast, a road no one used anymore. I remember how his fingers brushed mine on the gearshift, warm, steady, confident, and how the horizon folded into black, swallowing the last town behind us. The further we drove, the less the headlights seemed to matter. No signs, no cars, just the same looping curve, and that whispering wind pressing against the glass. I told myself it was fine, that sometimes love just needed a little distance. But when we passed the same billboard twice, I started to feel it, that sinking, crawling dread, that something about this road wasn't real. And maybe neither was he. The second turn should have led us toward the coast, but instead the same diner appeared again, its neon sign half dead and buzzing. "That's weird," Eli said, too calm. I wanted to laugh it off, say we'd just missed a turn. But the air in the car felt heavier, slower. He didn't look surprised. When I asked if he'd been out here before, his hand froze mid-steer, then kept driving like he hadn't heard me. The static on the radio started whispering, not voices, exactly, but something that sounded like breathing. The diner was locked. No cars, no people, just a cup of coffee still steaming behind the counter. I pressed my hand against the glass. It was warm, like someone had just been there. Eli said we should keep moving, but something in his tone felt rehearsed. I noticed then the same smudge on the window we'd seen hours ago, the same pattern of flies against the light. It wasn't déjà vu. It was a loop. We drove again, headlights tracing lines on a road that didn't end. My phone said 214 a.m. It had said 214 for the last 3 turns. Eli started humming a song I'd never heard before, the kind that sounds familiar but isn't. I asked where we were going. He said, "Almost there." When I pressed again, his voice dropped. "We're already here." I wanted to turn back, but the rearview mirror showed nothing, no road, no light, just a void stretching endlessly behind. My chest tightened as the world outside the windows began to look painted, artificial. The sky flickered like a bad projection. Eli's smile widened, like he'd been waiting for me to notice. "You shouldn't have come," he said softly, and the car kept moving on a road that didn't exist yesterday or ever. The next hour felt like a dream that refused to end. The same mile markers blinked by, the same billboard of a missing girl my age, my hair color torn and fluttering in the wind. I whispered, "We've been here before." Eli didn't answer. His knuckles were white around the steering wheel, the radio crackling with a song that started to sound like words. "Turn back. Turn back." I tried to roll down the window, desperate for air, but the handle locked itself mid-turn. The headlights ahead began to shimmer, as if bending, and for one split second, I thought I saw another car exactly like ours, driving in perfect sync beside us, but with no one inside. Eli finally spoke. "You're just tired," he said softly, eyes never leaving the road. His calm made it worse, the kind of calm that feels practiced. I noticed his reflection in the windshield didn't quite match his movements. It lagged, delayed, as if something else was pretending to be him. My hand brushed against his jacket, cold, damp. "We should stop," I whispered. "We can't," he said. The words echoed, not from his mouth, but from the radio. We pulled into a rest stop that shouldn't have existed, a rusted vending machine humming beside a payphone wrapped in vines. The sign above read, "Welcome back." I felt my heartbeat in my throat. Eli stepped out without a word, vanishing into the fog. When I followed, his footsteps were gone, but I could still hear the car running. I circled it twice, and every time, the license plate changed numbers. My own name was spelled across it. The third time, the fog thickened until the world shrank to a single beam of light from the car. Eli appeared again, Walking from the darkness, same clothes, same face, but wrong somehow. "Where did you go?" I asked. He said. "Never left," he said. His voice was identical, but hollow, almost rehearsed. He slid into the driver's seat, turned the key, and the car purred obediently. I looked at the rearview mirror. He wasn't reflected in it anymore. By the time we passed the same diner for the third time, I stopped pretending not to see. The neon sign no longer flickered. It glowed steady red, pulsing like a heartbeat. Eli's hands on the wheel looked pale, almost translucent. I said his name once, then again louder. He smiled without turning his head. "You'll understand soon," he said. My body went cold. The sign outside the diner changed as we passed the letters, rearranging themselves into a single word, "Stay." When the fuel light blinked red, I felt a strange relief. At least we'd have to stop. We found a gas station that looked older than the road itself, its lights barely alive, the air thick with the smell of rust and rain. Eli didn't move. He just stared at the attendant inside, a man in a torn flannel shirt, face ghostly under the fluorescent hum. I asked if he was going to fill up, but Eli whispered, "He doesn't like when you speak first." The words froze in my throat. When I turned to look at the attendant again, he was already standing at my window, tapping once slow, deliberate, his eyes wet and shining like glass. The attendant didn't speak. He slid the pump nozzle into the tank and started fueling, never breaking eye contact. His hand trembled slightly, like every motion was forced. When I reached for the window button, Eli grabbed my wrist too tight. "Don't," he said. The attendant's lips moved soundlessly, forming words I couldn't hear. Then, he held up the receipt to the glass, pressing it against the window until the ink smeared. One word was written across it in shaking letters: "Run." I tore free and jumped out. The attendant backed away slowly, eyes darting toward Eli. "He's not," he started, but the words were swallowed by the wind. I caught a glimpse of something on Eli's arm, black veins pulsing beneath his skin. When I turned back to the attendant, he was gone, vanished into the dark behind the pumps. The sound of the gas filling the tank echoed too long, like an empty drum. Eli smiled at me through the windshield, his hand resting on the wheel like a patient hunter waiting for prey to return. When I climbed back into the car, Eli was humming again, that same melody from before, the one that didn't exist. The receipt lay in my lap, smudged but legible. "Run." I clutched it like a lifeline. "What did he mean?" I asked, voice shaking. Eli didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the road ahead, pupils dilated like a predator's. As we pulled away, I looked back. The gas station was gone. Nothing behind us but open black road and static whispering through the vents. The silence stretched until it felt like punishment. I opened the glove box looking for something: a map, a phone charger, anything real, but instead found dozens of folded receipts, all identical, all with that same word: "Run, run." My pulse pounded. Eli's voice broke the quiet. "You shouldn't have opened that." I looked up, and the passenger window showed our reflection, except it wasn't reflecting us. In the glass, I was the one driving, and he was the one smiling beside me. The first sign that the world was unraveling came when the radio began to whisper our names. Not songs, not voices, just a slow chant of Mara. Eli. Mara. Between static breaths, my phone flashed. No service, and froze on the time 3:03 a.m. Eli didn't react, didn't blink. I tried the GPS. It spun endlessly, rerouting itself to a place called No Name Road. My skin crawled. I wanted to scream, but the air felt too heavy to move through. Outside, every road sign looked wrong, crooked, mirrored, like the world was folding in on itself. Eli finally spoke. "It's better if you don't look back." His voice was distant, almost mechanical. I turned anyway. The rear window showed nothing, not even the road, just an endless void of black, pulsing slightly like it was breathing. My stomach knotted. I reached for the door handle, but it wouldn't move. The lock clicked itself shut. "Please stop," I whispered. "We're almost there," he said again. The same words, the exact same tone, like a recording. I tried to use the voice recorder on my phone. If I couldn't escape, I'd document it. But when I hit play, the playback was already there. My voice, panicked, whispering words I hadn't said yet. "Don't trust him. He's not Eli. Don't look left." My breath caught. Eli turned slowly toward me, too slow, like every bone in his neck was deciding whether to obey. "What did you just say?" he asked, though I hadn't spoken at all. The phone slipped from my hand and went dark. The fog outside had color now, faint red, pulsing like veins. Every curve of the road looked identical. I realized I couldn't hear the engine anymore. The car moved, but there was no sound. When I turned the radio off, I still heard whispering through the vents. "You should have run." My chest tightened as I saw movement in the passenger window, a reflection of me, but smiling. Long before I did, my reflection mouthed something I couldn't hear. Then it blinked, but I hadn't. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed the wheel, yanking it hard toward the shoulder. Tires screamed, metal shuddered. But when we stopped, we weren't off the road. We were exactly where we'd been a minute ago. Same trees, same fog, same crooked billboard ahead. Eli didn't even flinch. He just looked at me and whispered, "There's nowhere else to go." I stared ahead and through the windshield. A faint outline began to appear in the fog. A town, lights flickering like dying stars. Nowhere had a destination after all. The town rose out of the fog like a mirage. Houses with lights still burning. Curtains moving, though no one was there. As the car rolled through, every street looked familiar in a way that made my stomach twist. "You've been here before," Eli said softly. His voice didn't sound like his anymore. Too deep, too calm. I wanted to ask what he meant, but my tongue felt heavy, my mouth dry. He parked in front of a small white house with peeling paint. My heart stopped when I saw the mailbox. It read Holt. I stepped out slowly, gravel crunching under my feet. The air was wrong, too still, too staged. The porch light flickered once, as if acknowledging me. Eli remained in the car, eyes following me, but body motionless. I reached for the door, and the knob turned on its own. Inside, the living room was exactly like my childhood home, the same photographs, the same yellowed wallpaper. But every picture frame held only one face. Mine. Footsteps creaked above me. I whispered Eli's name, but the sound didn't carry it. It was like the house swallowed it. I climbed the stairs, hand trembling along the banister. At the top was a single door, half open, light spilling through a crack. My throat tightened as I pushed it open. Inside, there were dozens of photographs spread across the floor, all of me. Asleep, driving, crying moments I never remembered. And in the corner, a figure stood with its back turned. "Eli," I whispered. It didn't turn. The figure moved slowly, like gravity worked differently for him. When he finally turned, I gasped. It was Elias' face, but stretched, thin, wrong around the edges, his eyes hollow pools of static. "You remember now," he said. "You never left this road." I stumbled backward, heart hammering. "What are you?" His lips twisted into something close to a smile. The part of him that stayed. Then, the lights blinked, and every photo on the floor shifted. In each one, Eli was standing behind me. Sure. Eli was standing behind me. I ran. Down the stairs, out the door. The house vanished the moment I crossed the street. I collapsed by the car, gasping. and saw Eli sitting calmly behind the wheel again. Perfectly human, perfectly composed. "Where did you go?" he asked, as though nothing had happened. My hands shook as I tried to open the door, but he leaned toward the glass and whispered, "You never had a choice." The headlights flared to life on their own. Behind me, every house in the town turned its lights on at once, and in every window a figure stood, watching. The town looked frozen mid-breath, storefronts lit, doors unlocked, but not a single sound. I walked past a diner window where figures sat motionless inside, their faces turned toward me, unmoving, like mannequins made to resemble strangers I once knew. Eli followed at a distance, his footsteps always in sync with mine, no matter how I changed pace. "Where are we?" I whispered. "Home," he said simply. The word felt wrong in my mouth. When I glanced at the reflection in the window, the mannequins were gone. Only Eli stood behind me, smiling. I pushed into the diner. The air was heavy with the smell of burnt coffee and something metallic. Every stool at the counter had a coat draped over it, a cup still half full, steam long gone. The jukebox in the corner hummed softly, skipping the same two notes over and over. I saw something move behind the counter, a flash of my own hair, my jacket. My heart lurched. A mirror stood where the kitchen should have been, reflecting me, but not exactly me. My reflection tilted her head and whispered, "You were supposed to stay on the road." The street outside pulsed with light. I stepped out and saw movement, shadows sliding between the houses, watching from rooftops. Every window glowed with faint blue light, like static humming beneath glass. Eli walked ahead now, moving toward the town center where a single lamppost flickered. I followed, each step echoing like thunder. When he stopped, he turned to me and said, "You made this." My stomach dropped. "What?" I asked. He smiled softly. "You wanted a place no one could find you. You just forgot the part where no one could leave." The ground beneath us began to hum. Street lights blinked in rhythm with my heartbeat. "You're lying," I said. But even as I spoke, flashes of memory cut through the night. Eli crashed his car 6 months ago. My hands on the wheel, the scream, the shattering glass. My breath caught. "You died," I whispered. Eli's face softened. "Not all of me." His hand reached out, and for a moment his skin flickered between light and static. "You kept driving, Mara," he said. "You never stopped." The town lights dimmed one by one until only the headlights from the car remained. Eli stepped back into the darkness, his outline dissolving into the fog. "You can leave," his voice whispered, echoing from everywhere. "But not alone." I turned toward the car. The door was open, the engine humming softly, waiting. In the passenger seat lay my camera, turned on, recording. On the tiny screen, a live feed showed me standing beside the car, but behind me, something wearing his face. The fog was thicker now, swallowing the edges of everything. The headlights barely reached the road. I stood there, watching the car idle, my name flickering faintly across the license plate again. I told myself I could leave, that I'd wake up somewhere real if I just started driving. But when I slid into the driver's seat, the air smelled like salt water and blood. The same scent from the night Eli died. The rearview mirror trembled, and for an instant, his reflection was there, smiling softly, eyes wet, whispering, "One more turn." The road felt alive again, moving beneath the tires, pulsing faintly with light, like veins under skin. The radio hissed, cutting in and out between whispers and heartbeats. "Eli," I said quietly. "I'm sorry." His voice replied from everywhere at once, gentle and cruel. "You kept me here." My eyes burned as the fog thinned just enough to reveal a highway sign. It read "Exit 0 Home." I pressed the gas. The world stretched, blurred, and folded in on itself. The road straightened, but nothing on either side existed anymore. No trees, no sky, no sound but the hum of the tires. Then, ahead, a flicker, the same gas station, same pump, same light. The clock on the dashboard blinked back to 12:01 a.m. "We've been here before," I whispered. The receipt lay on the seat beside me again, untouched. I turned it over. This time, it didn't say run. It said stay. And beneath it, a fingerprint that wasn't mine. I stopped the car. The world was quiet again, too quiet. My reflection in the window stared back. But I realized with a jolt, it wasn't copying me anymore. It smiled when I didn't, moved when I froze. I reached for the door handle, but my reflection mouthed, "Don't." Then, slowly, her hand rose on the other side of the glass, pressing against mine. The glass began to ripple like water. I felt warmth seep through my skin, Eli's warmth. His voice whispered, "Come back to the road." The next morning, police found the car parked by the old highway. Engine cold. Headlights dead. No sign of the driver. They said the road was condemned years ago after a fatal crash. A man and a woman, both unnamed, never recovered. But sometimes, truckers still see headlights moving through the fog long after midnight. Two silhouettes, one driving, one watching. And if you listen closely, the radio still plays the same whisper between the static "Let's take a drive."